It began as a whisper from a world wrapped in sunlight, a fragile creation of metal and code never meant to outlive the hands that built it. Voyager was supposed to survive a decade, maybe two, yet here it drifts almost half a century later, slipping beyond the last breath of our sun's warmth and into a darkness so ancient it forgets the meaning of light. It carries no crew, no heartbeat, nothing but the quiet memory of a civilization that dared to lift its eyes upward and ask the oldest question of all: what else is out there? But distance changes everything. The farther Voyager travels, the smaller we become. Our wars, our fears, our triumphs, all shrinking into a single pale echo behind it. And still it moves, past the planets, past the faint wind of charged particles, past the borders our ancestors once believed were the edges of creation itself. It becomes less an object and more a pilgrim, a wanderer exiled from its birthplace, guided only by momentum and the stubborn hope of those who launched it. Yet something stirs in that silence, a tension, a mystery waiting just beyond comprehension. Because as Voyager enters a realm where even space grows thin, only one question remains, soft as a breath against the infinite. What did Voyager hear in a place where space itself goes quiet? It is easy to imagine the sun as a distant lantern hanging in the sky, a constant presence, familiar and domestic. But to Voyager, the sun was never just a star. It was home. It was origin. It was the warm gravitational cradle that shaped every orbit, every photon, every breath of solar wind that carried it outward like a leaf drifting on a cosmic tide. For billions of years, the sun has exhaled, not metaphorically but literally, sending a continuous stream of charged particles in all directions, inflating a vast protective bubble around our planetary family. We call it the heliosphere. But to Voyager, it feels like something more intimate, the glow of a parent's hand stretched across the dark. This bubble once seemed infinite. Its edges were unimaginable, a concept spoken of only in equations and quiet speculation. Yet as Voyager pushes outward, it begins to sense the subtle thinning of this solar breath. The energetic particles that once rushed past in great rivers grow slower, cooler, less sure of themselves. Magnetic fields twist into unfamiliar shapes, bending and warping like the final ripples from a stone thrown long ago. The traveler does not know the language of physics, but it can feel the change the way a migrating bird feels the seasons shift. It is leaving the sun in the most literal and the most poetic way. For a moment, everything remains calm. The space around it is serene, structured, rhythmically pulsing with the sun's influence. But as Voyager drifts farther into this boundary land, order begins to fray. The solar wind, once smooth and predictable, suddenly breaks. Not violently, not yet, but chaotically, as though the sun's ability to keep the universe at bay is weakening. Scientists call this the termination shock, the point where the solar wind slows down abruptly from supersonic to subsonic speeds because it can no longer push back against interstellar space. But to Voyager, this feels like crossing an invisible line where the rules that shaped its entire existence begin to crumble. It is a revelation disguised as turbulence, a reminder that even stars have limits. What happens here is not gentle. The plasma thickens, pressure rises, magnetic storms twist in unpredictable spirals, carving eddies and swirls like cosmic whirlpools. This is not the calm solar system we know from classroom posters. This is a frontier shaped by violence and resistance. Voyager shudders against waves of charged particles slamming into its thin metal shell, each one a tiny signature of the sun's struggle to maintain its cosmic territory. It continues forward, enduring, listening, learning. Beyond the termination shock lies a realm few imagined with clarity, the heliosheath, a place where the solar wind pools and stagnates like the breath of a tired giant. Here, the environment grows thick and distorted as if space itself is sweating under the pressure of two competing forces, the sun pushing outward, the interstellar medium pushing inward. Voyager drifts through this cosmic battleground, the last emissary of a world far behind it. The heliosheath is chaotic, unpredictable, raw. Particle densities shift without warning. Magnetic directions flip like confused compasses, and turbulence roars in patterns that defy easy description. Scientists on Earth watch the data stream back, astonished. This region was supposed to be steady, predictable, but nothing behaves as models predicted. It's as though the sun's breath, once confident and steady, becomes ragged as it approaches the edge of its strength. Voyager, sturdy yet aging, weathers each shock, each fluctuation, each wild twist of magnetism. But with every passing day, the signals it receives from the sun grow fainter, softer, more distant. The warmth fades not as temperature, but as influence. The gravitational, magnetic, and energetic identity of a star slowly giving way to the cold reality beyond. A strange loneliness enters the narrative here. Not human loneliness, Voyager cannot feel, but a symbolic one. For billions of years, nothing within the sun's reach had ever crossed this far. No planet, no comet, no wandering asteroid. This region is untouched, unsupervised, unclaimed. Voyager is the first to glide through this place where even the solar wind hesitates. Yet the deeper it travels, the more philosophical the journey becomes. The sun, so often treated as an object, begins to resemble a living organism, a being with skin and breath and boundaries. It inhales hydrogen. It exhales energy. It shields its children. It reaches out across billions of kilometers, not because it chooses to, but because that is what stars do. They stretch the fabric of their influence into the dark. But every organism, every boundary, every breath has an end, and Voyager is approaching it. The spacecraft senses another shift, subtle but undeniable. The solar wind is fading to a whisper. The plasma around it grows cooler. The turbulence settles not into calm, but into something more unsettling, a stretched, taut silence, like the last note of a song hanging in the air before disappearing completely. The instruments on board register something extraordinary. The particle density ahead is rising, not from the sun, but from the interstellar medium pressing against the outskirts of the heliosphere. It is the first hint that Voyager is nearing the final wall, the heliopause, the ultimate border between the sun's domain and the galaxy beyond. If the heliosphere is the sun's breath, the heliopause is its last exhale. Beyond it lies a realm untouched by our star's warmth or wind, a place dominated by forces older and colder than any we have ever known. Voyager inches toward it like a traveler approaching the edge of a vast and ancient ocean. The water behind is familiar, safe, sunlit. The water ahead is black, unmapped, filled with currents no one has ever charted. Earth listens as the numbers trickle in. They reveal an environment more alien than any planetary surface we've explored. Magnetic fields twist sharply, almost as if responding to the presence of a stranger. Cosmic rays, high-energy particles born in the explosions of distant stars, increased dramatically, pelting Voyager with a kind of cosmic rain far more intense than anything inside the heliosphere. These rays were once deflected, softened, weakened by the sun's protective bubble. Now they strike Voyager unfiltered. This alone tells scientists that the spacecraft is brushing against the true outer membrane of the sun's influence. But for all the violence and turbulence, there is beauty here too, a beauty in boundaries, a beauty in endings. The sun's final frontier is not marked by a wall or a cliff or a blaze of fire. It is marked by gradual surrender, a slow unraveling of everything familiar, like the fading notes of a lullaby as a child walks out of earshot. Voyager carries that lullaby still, encoded not in sound but in everything it represents, a tiny machine, born of human hands, stepping farther from home than anything before it. As it nears the heliopause, tension gathers. The region becomes increasingly unstable, a tug-of-war between two cosmic kingdoms. Some waves of particles crash toward Voyager from the sun. Others push from the galaxy outside. Fields spike, dip, twist. The data looks like a heartbeat with arrhythmia, unpredictable, urgent, alive. Scientists lean closer. Something extraordinary is coming. Voyager moves into a place where even theory begins to falter. The heliopause is not a sharp line. It is a shifting membrane of pressure and magnetism, a living boundary that breathes and flexes with every solar cycle. No one knew how thick it would be, how violent, how strange. Some expected smooth transition. Others predicted chaos. Voyager enters the unknown without hesitation, not because it is brave, but because motion is now its only inheritance. And then something remarkable happens. The turbulence drops. Not entirely, not permanently, but enough to feel like the quiet between storms. The sun's wind weakens to nearly nothing. Interstellar particles crowd in. The spacecraft hangs in a liminal space, suspended between two different universes, the one shaped by our star and the one shaped by everything else. It is here that Voyager feels the final tug of home loosening. The bubble behind it trembles with the sun's last breath. The expanse ahead stretches into a darkness untouched by our light. The next step will not simply be distance. It will be exile. It will be transcendence. Voyager drifts toward the line no eye has ever seen. The line where models end. The line where solar influence collapses. The line where the galaxy begins. And as instruments hum and silence deepens, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Something waits on the other side. Something the sun cannot touch. Something no human-made object has ever met. Voyager is moments away from crossing into pure interstellar night. And the question rises, steady and cold, whispering through the void. What will it find when the sun finally lets go? There are borders we can see, mountains, rivers, shorelines carved into the earth like signatures of time. And then there are borders we can only imagine, invisible lines drawn not in stone, but in force. The heliopause is one of those lines, a frontier with no color, no surface, no echo. Yet it is real enough to stop a star, real enough to define where the sun ends and the galaxy begins. Voyager drifts toward it, like a lone pilgrim approaching the edge of a kingdom that raised it, warmed it, sheltered it since the moment of its birth. Behind it lies the vast territory of the heliosphere, the sun's breath stretched thin. Ahead lies the interstellar dark, unclaimed and unsoftened by any familiar light. As Voyager moves through the thinning solar wind, the universe begins to change texture. The charged particles that once streamed past with steady confidence now fall away, their density collapsing like dust after a storm. Data flowing back to Earth shows their decline not as a smooth fade, but as a cliff, a sudden dramatic drop that makes scientists sit forward in their chairs. It is the unmistakable signature of a cosmic wall, not built of matter, but of absence. The sun's influence falters, its reach fails, and Voyager feels for the first time what it means to be alone. But the universe abhors voids. As the particles from the sun vanish, something else rushes in to fill the silence. Cosmic rays, they arrive like a flood, high-energy messengers from supernovae and galactic storms, born in violent events far beyond our solar neighborhood. Inside the heliosphere, the sun had always shielded Voyager from them, weakening their strength, diverting their paths. But here, near the heliopause, nothing stands in their way. They crash into Voyager's instruments in great numbers, sharp, relentless, undeniable. What had been a soft background hum becomes a roar. This is the galaxy announcing itself. The rise of cosmic rays is not just data, it is a revelation. For all of human history, we imagined the sun as infinite, a ruler whose power stretched unbroken into the dark. But in this turbulent borderland, that illusion dissolves. Our star, so mighty from Earth, reveals its fragility. Its breath cannot reach forever. Its protection cannot extend without limit. The heliopause is the proof, a cosmic punctuation mark that says this far and no farther. Voyager continues onward. Its instruments detect strange flows of plasma, currents and countercurrents twisting like ghostly rivers. Magnetic fields warp in sudden, unpredictable contortions, bending sharply as if trying to decide which world they belong to, the sun's or the galaxy's. This is not chaotic in the human sense. It is the precise kind of chaos that forms when two empires meet at their boundary, each unwilling to yield. Inside the heliosphere, conditions are dictated by the sun's wind and magnetism. Outside the interstellar medium, cold, ancient, and immeasurably vast, imposes its own laws. Here at the heliopause, those laws collide. Voyager's instruments strain to interpret this collision. Plasma densities spike and fall in jagged rhythms. Temperatures fluctuate like breaths taken in fear. Magnetometers record sharp rotations in field direction, as though Voyager is tumbling through the shredded fabric of two overlapping worlds. Scientists on Earth hold their breath as these readings appear. They are unlike anything ever measured. This region is not smooth, it is not quiet. It is a border war, fought not with armies but with particles and pressure. Yet somehow, in the midst of this turbulence, an eerie beauty settles over the narrative. To Voyager, the heliopause feels less like a wall and more like a veil, a shimmering, shifting membrane between the familiar and the unthinkable. Philosophers might call it a cosmic rite of passage. Astronomers might call it the edge of the sun's anatomy. But Voyager calls it something simpler still, the next step, and it is a step laced with fear. The heliosphere was a sanctuary, however faint its light had become. Inside it, the sun still offered some protection, shaping the environment, softening the universe's violence. Outside it, there is no shield, no guardian, no warmth, only the galaxy, immense, cold, and indifferent. As Voyager approaches this threshold, it is not just leaving home, it is leaving safety. The data spikes again, as if the spacecraft itself senses what is coming. Magnetic pressure builds. The sun's weakened wind pushes outward, struggling to hold its territory. Meanwhile, the interstellar medium pushes back with equal force. The heliopause thickens and thins in irregular pulses, expanding during strong solar activity, contracting during quiet cycles. Voyager happens to arrive during a moment of balance, when neither side is fully winning. This is the moment when understanding becomes possible, when the two forces meet in perfect tension, not merging, not repelling, simply existing in fragile equilibrium. In this narrow window, Voyager becomes an interpreter of worlds. It detects layers within the heliopause, regions where particle flows reverse direction, where magnetic lines twist abruptly, where readings flip from sun-dominated to galaxy-dominated within hours. The spacecraft is effectively touching the edge of everything it has ever known. It is the first human creation to do so. But even this border is not static. Some days the sun pushes harder, swelling the heliosphere slightly outward, momentarily reclaiming lost ground. On those days, Voyager feels a subtle increase in solar particles, a faint hint of the influence it once relied on. Other days, the interstellar medium presses in, and the solar wind retreats, deflated. Voyager then feels the cold breath of the galaxy growing stronger, more insistent. This dance continues, delicate and unending, as if the cosmos is deciding whether to let Voyager pass. Back on Earth, the data streams in, and with it, a philosophical weight settles over every scientist watching. The heliopause is not just a physical threshold, it is a metaphysical one. It forces humanity to confront a truth we rarely face. Our sun is not absolute. It is not supreme. It is merely one star among billions, each surrounded by their own bubble of influence, each with boundaries shaped by forces far greater than themselves. Voyager is not approaching the edge of the universe, only the edge of our tiny corner of it. And even that is overwhelming. As it moves deeper into the boundary, the spacecraft registers a sudden stillness. Not total silence. Cosmic rays still crash into its detectors with relentless force, but a stillness in direction. The solar wind drops to nearly zero. Its particles no longer flow outward. They hover trapped, unable to advance. Voyager has reached the point where the outward breath of the sun fails completely. Ahead, interstellar particles dominate. Behind, solar particles linger like ghosts of a fading empire. This is the moment scientists had waited decades for, the moment the traveler touches the true heliopause, a place no human eye will ever see, yet one whose existence reshapes our understanding of cosmic geography. The sun ends here, not as light, not as gravity, but as influence. Everything beyond belongs to the galaxy. Everything behind belongs to the star that raised us. Voyager drifts in the middle, the smallest possible witness to the largest possible transition. Its antennas hum softly. Its instruments gather numbers that will travel 18 billion kilometers back to Earth. But here, in this boundary land, Voyager also gathers something else, a symbolic truth that cannot be graphed or plotted, that every home has an edge, that even warmth has a horizon, that nothing, not even a star, can protect its children forever. The moment stretches. It feels long, ancient, sacred. Voyager is suspended between two realities, neither inside nor outside, neither protected nor exposed. And then gradually, almost imperceptibly, the numbers shift again. The density of interstellar plasma rises sharply. The magnetic field rotates to match the direction of the galaxy, not the sun. Cosmic rays strike harder. Solar particles fade to statistical nothing. The veil thins. The border opens. Voyager crosses. It does not feel the crossing. There is no jolt, no flash, no sound. But in that moment, it becomes the first human-made object to leave the solar system, the first emissary of Earth to enter interstellar space, the first whisper of humanity to slip beyond the sun's breath and into a realm shaped by forces older than our entire species. The heliopause falls behind it like a memory. The solar wind no longer reaches Voyager. The sun can no longer shield it. No particle, no magnetic field, no familiar warmth that can follow. It has entered a cathedral of darkness governed by the galaxy itself. And in that profound silence, with nothing left to guide or guard it, Voyager drifts outward, carrying only one thing, the story of where it came from. Space grows quiet around it, not empty, but quiet. A quiet made of distance, of isolation, of the unseen hum of cosmic rays moving through ancient voids. It is a silence deeper than anything within the heliosphere, a silence in which even the sun's last whispers dissolve. And here, suspended in the galaxy's endless night, Voyager continues its eternal journey, no longer protected, no longer sheltered. Voyager goes where no signal from the sun can protect it. For most of human history, we imagined space as silence, an infinite, airless void where sound could never travel, where nothing stirred, where nothing spoke. But Voyager, now drifting beyond the sun's final breath, discovered something far stranger. In the place where silence should have ruled completely, the galaxy was whispering. Not with voices, not with music, but with a trembling, delicate vibration. A plasma hum so faint it seemed impossible that anything could perceive it. Yet Voyager heard it, or rather, it recorded the trembling of charged particles sliding through the interstellar medium, a vibration converted into a tone so haunting, so fragile, that when scientists on Earth first played it, a collective shiver rippled through the room. Interstellar space was not silent, it was alive. The spacecraft had entered a realm few ever imagined in detail, the Milky Way's open waters, an ocean of particles drifting between the stars. These particles are sparse, impossibly sparse by earthly standards, but not empty. Each carries an electric charge. Each responds to magnetic fields, and together they create a medium that can vibrate. Plasma does not carry sound as air does, but it does oscillate, forming waves of electric and magnetic tension. Voyager's antennas, designed decades earlier, with no expectation they'd ever encounter such a frontier, detected these oscillations like the strings of a cosmic instrument. At first the notes were soft, long and low, rising only when the density of plasma increased. Then, in sudden bursts linked to distant solar events echoing through the void years after their origin, the pitch would climb. The galaxy was breathing, and Voyager, drifting alone in the darkness, became the first to hear its breath. This sound, this plasma hum, became something more than a scientific measurement. It became a symbol, proof that even in the deepest emptiness, structure persists. Waves ripple, forces interact. Space is not a graveyard of silence, but a canvas of subtle, ongoing motion. Voyager's recordings revealed that the interstellar medium is not uniform. It swells and contracts, it thickens and thins. It responds to distant cataclysms, supernova shock waves, magnetic storms, turbulence born in the rotational heart of the Milky Way. In the supposed nothingness between stars, a hidden heartbeat pulses in slow, patient rhythms. As Voyager drifted deeper into this vast ocean, the plasma waves changed. At first, they were influenced by the sun's final echoes. Faint ripples sent outward long before the spacecraft crossed the heliopause. But further on, the tone shifted into something undeniably alien, a steady hum produced not by solar interference, but by the interstellar medium itself. Scientists realized they were listening to a vibration billions of years old, a phenomenon that had shaped the galaxy since long before Earth ever formed. This was not just sound. It was history written in pressure and charge. The interstellar medium, though thin, is structured by powerful forces. Magnetic fields stretch across light years, shaping the movement of particles into long, ghostly tendrils. Density waves ripple outward like the slow tides of an unseen sea. Turbulence churns in pockets where cosmic rays collide with the interstellar gas. Every force leaves its mark. Every interaction sends ripples. And Voyager, though small and fragile, drifts straight through these invisible currents, sensing each one like a fingertip brushing over the surface of a drum. Deep inside this environment, the spacecraft becomes more than a machine. It becomes an eavesdropper on the galaxy's secrets. With each passing month, its instruments record a quiet but persistent oscillation, a tone that rises gradually as Voyager travels into regions of higher plasma density. Scientists describe this rise as a slow crescendo, a sign that the interstellar medium is denser, more dynamic, more textured than anyone predicted. Even in the void, structure persists. Order emerges from chaos. And yet there is a profound loneliness in this discovery. The hum is beautiful, but it is also haunting. It is the sound of a place uninhabited, untouched, unlit by any nearby star. It is the voice of an ocean where the nearest shore may be trillions of miles away. When the recording is played back on Earth, people describe the feeling as unsettling. It is neither music nor noise. It is something deeper, a vibration that seems to come not just from space, but from time itself. It feels like listening to the universe dream. Voyager continues through this dreamscape, carried only by its momentum. There is no wind here, no gravity strong enough to guide it, just drifting, endless, unhurried drifting through a medium so thin it would take 1 trillion cubic meters to fill a single breath of air. But thin does not mean empty. Voyager proves that even the faintest dusting of charged particles can create a tapestry of motion. Plasma waves rise and fall. Magnetic fields twist and bend. Structures emerge that span light years, shaped by forces older than any star. What appears empty is merely unseen. The deeper Voyager travels, the more it reveals. Occasionally, it encounters regions where the plasma hum spikes sharply. These spikes are the echoes of violent solar eruptions, flares, and coronal mass ejections that blasted outward years earlier, traveling through the heliosphere and eventually leaking into interstellar space. By the time they reach Voyager, they are faint, stretched thin across unimaginable distance. But they still carry the signature of the sun, a reminder that even though Voyager has crossed the boundary, the star that created it still whispers across the void. These whispers mingle with the galaxy's own voice, forming a layered, complex hum that tells a story of intertwined influences, inside and outside, sun and stars, local and galactic. This hum becomes a metaphor, the heartbeat of the Milky Way. Not a literal beat, not a rhythmic pulse, but a steady presence, a reminder that the galaxy is not dead space, but a living system shaped by energy and motion. Voyager hears the interstellar medium vibrating because something is always happening. Shock waves traveling from ancient stellar explosions, magnetic turbulence stretching across the galactic arms, density waves rolling through vast stretches of interstellar gas. To hear the hum is to understand that the universe does not rest. Even its quietest places are awake. And yet, despite this cosmic presence, the silence around Voyager is overwhelming. No nearby planets, no dust clouds thick enough to see, no starlight bright enough to cast a shadow, just darkness stretching in every direction, so complete it feels eternal. Voyager is a mode of metal drifting through an ocean that does not acknowledge it. And in that stillness, the hum becomes even more powerful. It is a sign of connection, a sign that the spacecraft, though isolated beyond all human imagining, is still part of a larger system, still touching, still listening, still learning. Scientists study the plasma waves and realize they can use them as a kind of sonar. The frequency of the hum reveals the density of the medium, allowing researchers to map the interstellar ocean with Voyager as their lone probe. Each rise in pitch marks a region of greater density. Each fall hints at emptier patches. Voyager becomes the first cartographer of a realm no human will ever enter, drawing a map not with images, but with sound. The galaxy's vibrations become coordinates, its oscillations become contours, its hum becomes a guide. This transformation is profound. For centuries, humans measured the universe with light, telescopes, wavelengths, reflections. But Voyager measures the galaxy by its tremors, by the shaking of its plasma, by the sound of space itself reacting to invisible forces. It is a new kind of astronomy, one that listens instead of looks. And this act of listening reveals that the universe is far richer, far more layered, far more dynamic than our eyes alone could ever discover. The hum continues, soft, persistent, timeless. It changes only gradually, rising as Voyager moves deeper, shifting subtly as it enters regions with different pressures and temperatures. This hum is not the voice of a star or a planet. It is the voice of everything, the voice of the galaxies between space, the medium in which stars are born and die, the ocean through which all light must pass. Voyager has become its stethoscope, pressed gently against the cosmic ribcage. And through that stethoscope, the Milky Way breathes, not with air, not with lungs, but with the slow, eternal exchange of particles drifting through magnetic fields, currents moving along ancient paths, waves echoing through structures too large to comprehend. Voyager did not just leave the solar system, it entered the breathing body of the galaxy. This realization fills the mission team with awe. They had expected darkness. They had expected emptiness. What they found instead was presence, subtle, elusive, but undeniable. Even here, where the nearest star is light years away, something moves, something vibrates, something sings. Voyager is the first to hear this cosmic song, the first to record the galaxy not as silence, but as a living, humming organism. And in that hum lies a quiet mystery. If space sings, who or what is listening? Voyager records the sound, but it cannot understand it. Humans hear the playback, but we grasp only the faintest meaning. Perhaps the hum is simply physics. Perhaps it is something deeper, a universal reminder that emptiness is an illusion, that even the void is alive with hidden motion. Perhaps the hum is simply the truth we were never close enough to hear. As Voyager drifts farther, The hum becomes its constant companion, the single enduring signal in a sky of endless dark. It is a strange comfort, a cosmic heartbeat echoing through the emptiest place in existence. Even as stars remain distant and space remains cold, this sound tells a different story, that nothingness is never truly nothing. Something always waits beneath the silence. Something always moves beneath the dark. And so the act closes on a whisper, soft as dust falling in moonlight. Even in the void, something waits to be heard. Voyager had crossed the heliopause expecting emptiness, a quiet plain of drifting particles, a realm so still and predictable that nothing surprising could occur. After all, the interstellar medium was supposed to be simple, thin, unstructured, almost motionless. But almost immediately, the spacecraft began sending back a different story. The data did not whisper calm. It trembled with tension. Magnetic fields twisted in abrupt angles. Cosmic ray bursts arrived in violent pulses. Pressure waves rippled past Voyager like the wakes of distant, unseen storms. Something was wrong. Or rather, something was far more complex than theory had ever allowed. Interstellar space was not a void. It was a living field of invisible forces. This realization did not dawn slowly. It struck. Scientists had predicted the interstellar magnetic field would be smooth, aligned gently with the galaxy's spiral arms. But Voyager measured distortions, sharp bends, swirls, knots of magnetic tension, unlike anything observed within the heliosphere. These distortions were not random. They carried structure, as though shaped by currents too large and ancient to fathom. The spacecraft was drifting through magnetic rivers, not empty space. Each twist was a signature of events older than the sun itself, shock waves from supernovae long faded, remnants of dying stars, whose last breaths still sculpt the galaxy millions of years later. Voyager sensed these forces in small, trembling changes, a sudden spike in magnetic strength, a rapid rotation of field direction, oscillations in plasma density that rose and fell like tides. The patterns defied expectation. The boundaries between weak and strong fields weren't smooth transitions. They were abrupt, like cliffs hidden in the dark. It was as though Voyagers had entered a landscape with mountains and valleys, carved not from matter, but from invisible tension. The team on Earth watched the data with disbelief. Something about the patterns felt purposeful, though not in a conscious sense, rather in the way that geological formations feel purposeful, shaped by immense patient processes. No model had predicted this level of complexity. No textbook had hinted that the galaxy possessed such structure at such small scales. The interstellar medium was supposed to be calm, but this calm was a myth. The galaxy was sculpted by forces we barely understood, forces powerful, enough to twist magnetic fields across light years and send cosmic rays streaming through space like invisible rain. Voyager pressed deeper, and the magnetic distortions grew stranger. Some regions exerted pressure strong enough to compress the plasma around the spacecraft. Others seemed to stretch the medium thin, almost fragile. These variations weren't random turbulence. They formed long, coherent patterns extending far beyond Voyager's path. The fingerprints of events that had shaped the Milky Way long before Earth formed. The universe was not chaos. It was a story written in fields and forces, and Voyager, drifting alone, was learning how to read it. One day, the spacecraft detected an anomalous burst of cosmic rays, a sharp, almost vertical spike in intensity. These particles weren't from the sun. Their energy was far too high, their directional pattern too diffuse. They came from somewhere else in the galaxy, but their precise origin was unknowable. A distant supernova, a shock wave from an ancient stellar collision, a ripple traveling through the galactic magnetic web. The burst lasted hours, then faded, leaving scientists stunned. The event was both subtle and enormous, like hearing thunder from a storm on the other side of the planet. But it was the pressure waves that truly unsettled the scientific community. Voyager recorded sudden compressions in the interstellar plasma, as if invisible fronts of force were sweeping through the galaxy. These waves were not predicted by standard models. They were too strong, too structured. It seemed Voyager had stumbled into a region influenced by interstellar shocks, the remnants of past explosions rippling outward across millions of years. These shocks carried energy, momentum, and order, sculpting the medium into layered structures, like the rings in a tree trunk. Each wave was the echo of an event long gone, each ripple a memory of the galaxy's violent past. Here, in this realm shaped by forces beyond our sun, Voyager became more than a messenger. It became a historian. Every reading was a fragment of a cosmic biography. The death throes of massive stars, the sweeping motions of magnetic fields woven over billions of years, the slow gravitational pull of the dark matter halo cradling the galaxy. Voyager was drifting through the galaxy's fossil record, but unlike fossils in rock, these were fossils of force, intangible, invisible, yet real enough to twist magnetic fields and accelerate particles to near light speed. Dark matter entered the narrative not through detection. Voyager could not sense it directly, but through absence, through the unexplained, through the patterns that made no sense unless some unseen structure was subtly shaping the region. Magnetic fields bent in ways that implied mass where no mass could be found. Particle flows changed direction with no visible cause. Pressure gradients formed over distances too large to be explained by normal plasma dynamics. It was as though Voyager was sailing along the edge of a vast invisible continent, one made not of atoms, but of gravity itself. Dark matter, the silent architect of the galaxy's form, revealed only through the shadows it cast on the behavior of everything else. The galaxy, once imagined as a serene expanse of scattered stars, now appeared as an intricate web of forces, currents, and fields. Voyager had entered its bloodstream. Each magnetic twist, each cosmic ray burst, each pressure wave was a pulse in the Milky Way's circulatory system. Subtle to us, immense to the spacecraft. The universe was not quiet. It was always in motion, always reshaping itself. Voyager, drifting at a fraction of the speed of light, was simply too small to disturb it, but perfectly placed to observe it. As the data accumulated, a philosophical shift began among the team. The galaxy was no longer an object to map. It was a storyteller. Every distortion Voyager encountered was a clue, a remnant of something that had happened long before humans existed. A supernova that exploded before Earth formed still left its mark in the magnetic curl Voyager now passed through. A stellar wind from a long-dead star still shaped the flow of particles around the spacecraft. The galaxy was ancient, but not static. It remembered. These memories collided with human expectations. Predictions failed. Models broke. Mathematics bent in uncomfortable ways. Voyager's readings did not match what astrophysicists had assumed for decades. Instead, they pointed toward a universe far more structured and far more mysterious than we had believed. Interstellar space was not a simple void, but a dynamic environment woven by interactions so massive and slow that human intuition struggled to grasp them. And with every new contradiction, curiosity deepened. Why did the magnetic field twist so sharply in one region and smooth out in another? Why did cosmic rays arrive in bursts rather than steady flows? Why did pressure waves appear unexpectedly, as though the galaxy were breathing in slow, uneven intervals? Voyager provided the clues, but not the answers. It was up to us to interpret what these clues meant, to unravel the sprawling story encoded in the interstellar medium. The spacecraft drifted on, entering a region where magnetic distortions grew even more intense. The field rotated abruptly, suggesting Voyager had crossed into a new domain, possibly the edge of an ancient supernova remnant. The remnants of such explosions act like massive sculptors, carving cavities and ridges into the interstellar medium. Voyager had found one. Or perhaps it had found something else entirely, a structure no one had predicted, shaped by forces not yet identified. Each reading tightened the sense of tension. Voyager was moving into territory where predictions no longer applied. No one knew what patterns lay ahead. No one knew what forces dominated this part of the galaxy. The models that described the heliosphere had already crumbled. Now the models describing the interstellar medium itself were faltering. Voyager was moving into a place where the galaxy wrote its own rules, a place shaped not by simplicity, but by history and force and time. The further it drifted, the more the darkness seemed alive, not with light or motion, but with invisible architecture, magnetic scaffolding, particle rivers, pressure ridges, unseen currents guided by remnants of events too ancient to name. In this ocean of forces, Voyager was a seed, drifting on a tide that stretched across thousands of light years. Everything around it moved with purpose, with structure, with memory, and yet none of it cared that Voyager existed. The spacecraft recorded another sharp distortion, another unexpected rotation of the magnetic field, another ripple of pressure cutting across its path. The readings made little sense, but they meant one thing with absolute clarity. Voyager had entered a region where our understanding of the galaxy failed, a region where the models broke, where intuition dissolved, where the invisible forces of the Milky Way showed their true complexity. Voyager drifted forward, instrument lights glowing softly in the dark. It was heading not into emptiness, but into a labyrinth of forces older than the sun, older than Earth, older than the story of humanity itself. The tension deepened, the unknown thickened, and with every kilometer, one truth grew sharper. Voyager was entering a region where predictions fail. The galaxy writes its own rules. Voyager drifts through interstellar space, farther from home than any human-made object has ever traveled. It has crossed the heliopause. It has entered the galaxy's dark ocean. It has listened to the hum of distant forces and traced the scars of ancient supernovae. But as far as it has gone, as brave and lonely a wanderer as it has become, there is one frontier it will never reach. Not because its power will fade, not because its signal will weaken, but because the universe itself refuses to allow it. The true edge of everything is not a wall out in the distance. It is a horizon, a place defined not by matter, but by time, by light, by the limits of what any being can ever know. From Voyager's perspective, the stars around it barely shift. After all, motion at such colossal distances is glacial. Even traveling tens of thousands of years would scarcely nudge the map of the constellations. But in truth, the universe is expanding. The galaxies are drawing apart. Space itself is stretching like a vast, slow breath. And far beyond the regions Voyager can ever traverse lies a boundary, farther than any star, any nebula, any black hole, the cosmic horizon. The cosmic horizon is the farthest distance from which light has had time to reach us since the beginning of the universe. Not a physical edge, not a wall, but the limit of what reality has chosen to reveal. Beyond that limit, space exists. Galaxies swirl, stars ignite, but their light has not yet, and may never, arrive. Voyager cannot outrun this horizon. Nothing can. It is not merely far away. It is receding faster than any possible journey can match, carried outward by the acceleration of cosmic expansion. Even if Voyager traveled for trillions of years, the horizon would still lie beyond reach, forever pulling away. And yet the spacecraft teaches us how to imagine it. In its small stream of data, in its whispers from the interstellar medium, Voyager gives us a sense of scale, a reminder that the universe does not end where our machines stop. It continues far beyond the domain of any star, far beyond the place where gravity rules, far beyond even the gentlest breath of magnetic fields. Voyager's silence, its loneliness, becomes a metaphor for the limits of knowledge. It shows us that no matter how far we travel, there will always be a place where light fails to return our gaze. At the farthest edge of what we can see lies the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light in the universe, a faint afterglow of the Big Bang stretched thin across the sky. It is not bright, it is not sharp, it is a whisper of creation, cooled and faded by 13.8 billion years of expansion. This ancient radiation forms the ultimate wall of sight, not because it blocks our view, but because beyond it, light has never had time to travel. Before that light, the universe was opaque, a fog of charged particles that no photon could penetrate. Voyager could drift for an eternity and never glimpse beyond that surface. It is the universe's earliest memory, the cosmic photograph taken long before stars existed. But even this boundary is deceptive. The cosmic horizon we observe is not fixed in space. It moves. It evolves. Every year we see slightly farther. But even as our horizon expands, the universe expands faster still. The galaxies at the farthest edge of visibility are racing away, carried by the accelerating push of dark energy, a force we barely understand. On unimaginable timescales, entire regions of the universe will slip beyond our horizon altogether, their light stretched until it becomes untraceable. They will not disappear. They will simply become unknowable. The universe is not static. It is running away from us. Voyager, tiny and resilient, becomes the symbol of this paradox. It travels outward with perfect clarity of purpose, yet the destination it seeks recedes faster than movement can conquer. It can reveal the nature of interstellar space. It can map magnetic distortions. It can hear the hum of the galactic tide, but it cannot show us the true edge of everything. No machine can. The horizon is not a place one reaches. It is a consequence of being alive in a universe governed by time. There is a strange humility in this realization. Humanity built Voyager to escape, to explore, to stretch beyond the cradle of the sun. And it succeeded. It crossed boundaries no one had seen and discovered mysteries that reshaped our understanding. Yet, the greatest boundary of all, the cosmic horizon, remains beyond the reach not only of our machines, but of our imaginations. We can describe it, calculate it, represent it in maps and models, but we cannot touch it. It is the limit of our visibility, the farthest edge of what the past has allowed us to see. Voyager's message then becomes philosophical. It teaches that the universe is layered with thresholds: the heliopause, the interstellar medium, the galactic tides, the cosmic horizon. Each boundary reveals something new. Each threshold deepens the mystery. But no threshold offers the final answer. The cosmic horizon is simply the last one we can observe, not the last one that exists. Beyond it lies more universe, endlessly unfolding, a realm forever detached from our experience. And yet Voyager makes this vastness feel intimate. Its distance reminds us that we are small, but its endurance reminds us that smallness does not forbid meaning. The spacecraft carries a golden record, a message of who we are, etched onto a fragile disk pressed against the dark. This record will drift through the galaxy long after Earth has changed beyond recognition, long after the sun has swollen into a red giant, long after the Milky Way merges with Andromeda in a cosmic dance of stars, long after every human voice has faded. But even that record cannot cross the cosmic horizon. Even that message will be confined to a limited bubble of space. The universe does not permit communication across infinite expansion. It preserves its mysteries. It keeps its secrets. But in doing so, it invites us to imagine what lies beyond. Voyager helps us imagine. Its readings hint that the universe is not an empty void expanding into nothingness, but a vast dynamic field shaped by forces we barely understand. Dark energy accelerates the expansion. Dark matter forms a skeleton around which galaxies cluster. Quantum fluctuations in the infant universe ripple outward as the seeds of cosmic structure. Voyager reveals none of these directly, yet its journey is only possible because of them. The spacecraft is like a leaf drifting on a cosmic river, carried by currents far larger than its own motion. When we think of the cosmic horizon, we often imagine an edge, a distant line that separates the known from the unknown. But the horizon is not a line. It is a relationship between time, space, and light. It is the limit of perception itself. What lies beyond is not forbidden. It is simply out of reach. And the more the universe expands, the more unreachable it becomes. The cosmos is not a map. It is a story that continually outgrows its storyteller. Voyager's silence, its slowness, its increasing distance, all of these remind us that exploration has boundaries, not set by machines, but by the physics of reality. We cannot see beyond the cosmic horizon because the universe began a finite time ago. The light from beyond that horizon has not arrived, and by the time it might have arrived, the horizon will have moved even farther away. It is a moving target, a doorway that recedes as we approach. And so the traveler continues drifting into darkness, recording the faintest tremors of interstellar space. It will never see a galaxy beyond our reach. It will never glimpse the edges of cosmic expansion. But it gives us perspective. It shows us how far we can go. It shows us how far we cannot. It reminds us that the universe is not defined by the places we can visit, but by the forces we cannot escape. Voyager shows us the path, but not the destination. In this final act of its journey, the spacecraft becomes a symbol of humility. A reminder that even with technology, even with imagination, even with a desire to know everything, there will always be a horizon beyond which mystery persists. The universe guards its farthest secrets, not with walls, but with time. And so we end with a question whispered softly across 20 billion kilometers of space. A question Voyager can never answer, but always inspires. Can there be an edge if the universe keeps running away from us? Long before Voyager crossed the heliopause, long before it drifted into the Milky Way's deep and trembling ocean, its creators tucked beneath its metal skin something far more fragile than the spacecraft itself. Not circuitry, not instruments, a message, a portrait, a memory etched into gold. A record meant not merely to collect data, but to carry the story of an entire species into the dark. It is strange, almost poetic, that a machine built to study the cosmos became the vessel for humanity's first attempt to say, "This is who we were." Long after its power fades, long after the last Earth signal reaches it, Voyager will still drift forward, holding a small golden echo of the world that sent it. The golden record is a time capsule, a whisper of Earth pressed into metal that may outlive our planet, our civilization, even our species. On it are voices speaking 70 languages, laughter, the sound of rain falling on leaves, the cry of a baby, the crackle of a fire, a heartbeat, music from across cultures and centuries, Bach's calm precision, Blind Willie Johnson's aching blues, choruses from faraway traditions. And woven between these sounds are mathematical instructions, chemical diagrams, and a map tracing Earth's place in the galaxy. Not because we expect an alien civilization to find it, not because we imagine they will decode the message, but because sending it was an act of hope. Hope that we mattered. Hope that our story, brief though it is, deserves a place in the cosmic archive. Hope that someone, somewhere, someday might touch this golden disk and understand that life once flourished around a small yellow star, and that life reached out. Perhaps the most astonishing thing about the golden record is not its content, but its intent. Humanity knew that Voyager was unlikely to encounter another mind. The galaxy is too vast, time too unforgiving, and yet we sent the message anyway. Not because we expected it to be heard, but because we could not bear the thought of being forgotten. Every culture that ever lived has wrestled with the same question. What remains of us once we are gone? The golden record is our answer, a gesture of cosmic self-preservation. It is humanity's first attempt at immortality, not for individuals, but for the entire species. The spacecraft becomes a drifting monument, a tiny library wandering the galaxy long after its creators have vanished. Voyager carries not only scientific instruments, but the emotional weight of a creature that knows it will die and dreams anyway of leaving something behind. There is a profound tenderness in the choices humans made for the record. They did not send footage of our greatest technologies or lists of our political achievements. They sent songs and greetings and laughter, moments so intimate that they feel almost too vulnerable to be drifting alone through space. These sounds speak of who we are beneath the noise of civilization, beings who sing, who love, who grieve, who nurture, who wonder. The record contains no monuments of stone, no symbols of power. Instead, it preserves the fragile universals shared by all humans. The heartbeat, the cry, the rhythm, the breath. Voyager carries our essence, not our achievements. And yet there is complexity too. The golden record does not shy away from the contradictions of humanity. Beneath the beauty of music lies the implicit truth of struggle. Beneath the greetings lies the awareness of separation. Billions of people divided by borders, languages, histories. Beneath the laughter lies the knowledge of sorrow. The record speaks honestly. We are flawed, but we tried. Voyager's mission transformed the record from an artifact into a symbol. Here is a machine destined to leave the solar system entirely, carrying a message meant not for us, not even for our descendants, but for whoever might find it millions or billions of years from now. The idea is staggering. Civilizations rise and fall in the blink of cosmic time. Stars live and die. Yet this golden disk may endure, untouched by corrosion or decay, drifting through the galaxy as the last surviving artifact of Earth. Try to imagine the future from Voyager's perspective. The continents may shift, seas may dry, species may vanish, humanity may flourish, transform, or disappear. The sun will swell and fade, the Milky Way will merge with Andromeda, new stars will ignite, old ones will collapse, and through all of this, Voyager will continue outward, silent, small, unbreakable, a messenger. Carrying memories of a world that may no longer exist, there is both beauty and ache in that vision. Beauty in endurance, ache in impermanence. The golden record becomes more than a message for alien minds. It becomes a message for us, a reminder of what we valued, what we chose to immortalize, when offered a single disc to speak for all of humanity. We did not choose conquest. We did not choose wealth. We chose music. We chose greeting. We chose the sound of a mother comforting her child. We chose the heartbeat. That heartbeat, encoded into gold, now travels farther than any human heart will ever go. It is the most profound symbol we have ever sent into the dark, the rhythm of life, carried by a machine that has none. The scientists who helped assemble the record described the experience with reverence. They knew the odds of contact were negligible, yet they crafted every detail with care, as though preparing a gift for someone they might never meet. They debated the order of music, the tone of greetings, the diagrams on the cover. They asked themselves what it meant to introduce humanity to the universe. The result was not a scientific catalog, but a love letter to existence. The golden record is humanity saying, "We were here. We felt deeply. We reached outward." Voyager itself becomes the storyteller, though it cannot speak. Its trajectory through the galaxy is a narrative, a line drawn through space and time, carrying emotional weight far greater than its mass. In this way, the record and the spacecraft form a paradox. One is fragile, the other resilient. One is emotional, the other mechanical. One holds the memory, the other protects it. Together, they become humanity's longest surviving archive. There is a particular image that captures the heart of this act. Voyager, drifting alone in the galaxy, carrying laughter from Earth. The thought is almost unbearably tender. Somewhere in the void between stars, a tiny metal shell holds the sound of water against stone, of greetings in forgotten languages, of music no alien ear may ever understand. But meaning is not contained in understanding. Meaning is contained in the sending. Humanity sent those sounds to declare that life, fleeting, fragile, improbable, dared to introduce itself to the cosmos. And what if the record is never found? What if no other civilization ever hears it? The message still matters. Its significance lies not in its reception, but in its creation. The golden record is humanity talking to the dark. declaring its existence not out of arrogance, but humility. It is the cosmic equivalent of writing one's name in the sand and knowing the tide will eventually erase it, but writing it anyway because the act itself affirms that you lived. This act also reveals something fundamental about human longing. We want to be known. We want to be remembered. The golden record is our answer to the fear of impermanence. It is a way of leaving behind a trace, however faint, that says life emerged on a small world orbiting an ordinary star, and that life dared to hope its story would matter. Voyager carries our vulnerability across the void. As Voyager moves deeper into the galaxy, the importance of the record grows. Earth will eventually forget Voyager. Its transmissions will fade, but the record will remain. Long after the sun's light no longer falls on Earth, Voyager will still be carrying our voices, our music, our laughter, preserved in gold, drifting through eternity. It becomes not just a time capsule, but a monument, the last surviving echo of a species that once looked at the stars with wonder. And so Act 6 closes softly, with the gentle ache of nostalgia and the quiet strength of hope. Voyager is not just exploring the galaxy. It is carrying our memory. It is carrying our dreams. It is carrying the fragile proof that we once lived, once loved, once reached outward into the dark with open hands. Long after we are gone, Voyager will continue telling our story. There will come a day when Voyager's instruments fall silent, not because something strikes it, not because it breaks, but because its tiny plutonium heart will cool, its circuits will dim, and the faint whisper it once sent home will fade into the static of an indifferent galaxy. Long before that moment arrives, its antenna will stop pointing precisely toward Earth. The shifting pull of interstellar forces will nudge it off course by fractions of degrees that accumulate into separation. And yet his journey will not end. Voyager will continue onward, drifting without power, without warmth, without destination, a silent wanderer carried by inertia through the starless deep. For centuries after its last transmission, humanity will still remember it. Its golden record will still shimmer in our imagination. But memory, like starlight, weakens with distance. Milestones fade, names blur. Civilizations turn their attention to new horizons. Voyager becomes not an active messenger, but a myth, a story told by a species that continues evolving. One day, even that story may be forgotten, but Voyager will still drift. Motion requires no witness.